Okay, so we went to the Riall Lecture 2 weeks ago, and we saw Rave, and he was like the only teacher that was awarded the President's National Medal of the Arts, which I thought was pretty cool.
He was also, he's also a member of the British Empire and has received several awards from the president. Um, I thought it was pretty cool that he's taught 32 years in a public school because not a lot of teachers, teach that long. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Um, I thought that it was interesting that you can't even drink the water in the school, and all of the students receive a free breakfast and lunch. None of them are English speakers, and only 32% of the students actually finish high school.
Yeah, I
So those
saw
are,
that because the like city of Los Angeles deemed the water to be unsafe. So it was funny that like he had to tell his kids that and not that it was like the school policy that explained that to them.
yeah, it's just like sad in my opinion. I mean, I can't imagine teaching at a school where like you legitimately can't drink the water. That's
Yeah, and then
awful.
he like wrote those 4 books, but also back to when he won that like Angel Award from Oprah, like the fact that he won things from what was it, Queen Elizabeth and the Dalai Lama, like I think that's pretty big because I think he's the only teacher that has done that. But he said that he gets 1,000 visitors a year to his classroom, and then one of them was that private investigator that said he'd follow him for a month and a half about like the Angel Award, and then he won what was $100,000 towards his goal. But the
Yeah,
guy like explained that he was so boring and like told him to go get a life because all he did was schoolwork like 24/7 and then went home to his family.
yeah. I thought it was awesome how well behaved he described his students, and like even in the videos that he showed, they were just like they were always listening, and like when they were reading their stories, they cried, and you could just tell that they were really well behaved. And especially when he told the story about them going to New York and how he can take 50 students with just him and his wife. I can't imagine that
Yeah.
because where I'm at my placement now, there is no way you could take 50 students by yourself to a city that the kids have never even been to before. It would be absolutely horrific. They would
Yeah,
never
I
listen.
also just like thought it was crazy that the parents let them like we discussed not like that the parents there don't care, but that they probably just where we're from wouldn't like think that's a big deal and that they just kind of just go along with whatever the teacher wants and the principal probably was like sure and didn't think much into like the safety and stuff and it like flying them across the country. And it's
Yeah.
like he also taught his kids like how to break into the school. And so like 60 students when he wasn't there like rehearse and like he showed them how to break in. Like that just shows like how respectful and responsible those kids must be for them to behave on like the plane, 50 of them, and like listen to him and like not interrupt and not run away, especially because they're fifth graders. Like I don't think I would ever imagine my classroom when I was in fifth grade being able to do that.
I know my little sister is only in seventh grade, and I can't imagine, like, I can't even imagine her being responsible enough to break into a school and like
Yeah.
not do anything stupid or something. So I think it's pretty awesome that in fifth grade they are responsible enough for that.
Yeah, and then he said like he doesn't give a damn about the test in the end of the year. All he cares about are those 6 levels of moral development by Kohlberg. So the first level was that you don't need reward, which at my school at Pinehurst they do that like award system where they like add points on their iPad,
Yeah,
and it's just like sad that that's like all they want is so they can get some reward at the end of the month, and then the teachers that's what they focus on instead of having the kids want to behave because they like that's what they're supposed to do and they shouldn't have to have a reward. And then
my my students at Fruitland Primary, that's where I am, but they get a certain amount of tickets a month or semester or something. I'm not really sure what it is, but if you get a certain amount of tickets, you can go to like they just have a stock hop and stuff, and so they really only read or do their math homework or whatever it is and turn stuff in to get those tickets because they know they're going to be rewarded and get to do like fun activities at the end, which I think if they were taught like Rafe teaches his students, they wouldn't need a reward at the end. They would just do it because they know it's better for them. Which he said, if you asked his students, why are you doing whatever, a math problem, they would answer with, if I learned this skill, my life just got better, instead of like, I'm doing it because I want a ticket or whatever.
Yeah, and how they didn't accept the popsicle sticks because they kept the cafeteria clean. They all declined it, which I think is big because as a student, like if everyone else is eating a dessert around you and you decline it because that's just what you're taught, like that just shows how much of an impact he has. And then the second level is I do things because I want a reward. And then like he says, you don't need a superficial activity to do something. Like you should be proud of yourself. And he says to get rid of the bribery, which I think is like goes along with the first one. Like you shouldn't have to bribe their kids to behave to get them a ticket, which I know I see my teacher do a lot. Like you guys be quiet, I'll give you a point or something. And like at that point, that's like all you're focused about. And
Yeah, I
then
agree.
yeah, the third one is I do things to please my teacher. You're here to work for you. Your behavior is your own behavior, which again like ties in like you should want to do things because they benefit you and you get the skill from it.
And going along with that, he was talking about how, like, as a teacher, you're a role model and you need to be doing what you want your students to be doing.
Yeah.
So if he is showing the students that he's responsible and, taking, um, like, I don't his actions represent what he wants his students to do.
Yeah.
Their behavior is their behavior and they can't blame, anybody else for their own behavior. So that was just level 3.
Yeah, and then level 4 is you do things because it's a rule. Like you should just like he was discussing how like you shouldn't talk in the hospital because like there's sick people that are trying to sleep around you, or like you should be quiet in a library because people are trying to study, which like there shouldn't have to be signs and there shouldn't have to be rules when you walk into the classroom. Like don't speak when the teacher's speaking. That should be like an automatic common sense thing. And like you can see that like the kids don't need a reminder every day to be like on task and focused because it's what is expected of them.
Yeah, and with that, he was talking about when he does take them to New York and the whole thing with the guy who takes the tickets, and they were all really quiet and like being respectful for their surroundings. And the guy thought that they were just like not having fun or whatever, and tried to get the girl like, fired up and like excited about being there. And she was like excited, but she didn't need to show it by being like loud and obnoxious like he was. Um, he just she just knows like the rules and
Yeah.
is aware of her surroundings.
And then the fifth one's I do things because I'm considerate of other people. Again, the library and the hospital I think ties in. And then the last one is children internalize a personal code of behavior that they carry with them no matter what circumstance are around, which is like the final one that you want to get your students to. And like of course this is going to take all year to get there. Like he explained how some teachers like, why am I not doing it? I've been doing it for a week. Like it's gonna take
Yeah.
time, and how even maybe after you leave his classroom you might not get to level 6, but that boy that shaved his head for growing cancer achieved that level 6 somewhere down the road, so it sticks with you for a while, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's crazy actually how some teachers thought like they could achieve level 6 in like 2 weeks or a
Yeah.
month. And like it's not going to happen that easy. Like kids are going to be kids, but if you start from like when they're younger, I think it'll be easier to teach them as they get older, all the 6 levels, and they'll achieve them even maybe a year at a time or whatever it may be. They don't have to achieve it all in one year. Um, so I just think that that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like it might be hard to like do that as kindergartners, but you can at least start them. You probably won't achieve them all, but just to get them started earlier than 5th grade, I think it's still doable. Also, like the last thing I wanted to discuss was like the myclassroomeconomy.org about how you
Yeah,
should make lessons relevant to their life, about how he said, at the end of the month they can sell auctions and school supplies. But if you don't, you can save up. And then he was talking about if you're really smart, you can buy other people's seats and have them pay you rent. So it's just kind of
yeah,
funny how like you can get that real world experience even in the classroom, and how like the kids actually understand that like they have to pay property taxes on their seat and stuff. And it shows you how to manage the money, that these are things that are useful and relevant to them that they'll carry on forever and that they'll look back on. Like if I had that, I would so remember that and look back on that. But I would love like to use that in my classroom. If you go to the website, it shows you how to use it in every like grade, like even kindergarten up to 5th, and what to do with each one so that it ties into the age of your teaching.
yeah. I think it's awesome, and like I would use it in my future classroom. But I showed it to my placement teacher, and I'm in a first grade class, and I even showed her like you can set it to like being in first grade doesn't have to be 5th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was kind of not really for it. She thought that like the students would not understand it and everything. And I
The way you
to
explain it, I feel like.
what?
It's definitely the way you explain it. Like some teachers don't take the time to sit down and explain it.
Yeah, no, she's just very old fashioned, I think,
Yeah.
but and doesn't like want to change what she does, every single year. But at the same time, like her students do the exact same thing, like after every read aloud in the morning and stuff like that. And I think it would be cool to like implement the classroom jobs and like renting your seats and stuff because I think that they would actually enjoy it. And if she let me, I would definitely like sit down and explain it to them. But I don't think she's really like up for that. But I thought it was pretty awesome, and
I
I'm
did too.
definitely.
And then, so finally, in conclusion, like my thing was that, like at the end, he read that letter from an essay of one of his top students in Notre Dame, and how he read it every day. I think that's something that, like, again, he's affected so many other people's lives that, like, just continue with them, and how he sent money and that kid sent it back. And, like, I just loved when he said, never ask permission, just ask for forgiveness, which I think is, like, the best quote you could hear because it's completely true and like in every aspect of your life. So I think that was just great the way he like tied up all of his lessons together, and like his speech was very like well thought out and had a purpose to it. And I love the videos too.
Yeah, and I liked when he said, "The difference you make may not show for another 20 years." And just like you said, with the girl who wrote the letter and received like an award for it or whatever, I think it's pretty cool because sometimes you don't think you're making the biggest impact on like a student if you don't have like a really good relationship with them or don't interact with them, all the time. But down the road, you may have made like a really big impact on their life. You just don't really realize it now, which I
Yeah,
thought was
exactly. I just really like this one. This one, I think everyone's gonna take something away from it.
yeah. And I think that was it.
Good job.